What the hell is up, everybody? Louie back here again, looking to break down UFC Fight Night London. Finally moving out of Vegas and/or Fight Island. Quick recap of last weekend. I did alright, 8-3 again. Seemed to get that a lot, but whatever. Winning record. I took some chances on some things, so can't be too mad. I picked Mckenna over Drew Dober. He almost got it done, but Drew Dober has the crimson chin, so we couldn't get that one. And then I picked Caceres over Yusuf. You know, deep down I kind of knew he wouldn't be able to get it over on Yusuf, but, you know, decent fight. I thought it was a decent bet. And then Alex Pierre, I picked Bruno Silva, but, you know, Pierre's takedown defense looked decent, and in the pocket, he can bang, man, and he can take a punch as well. Bruno Silva's got his shots into, but, you know, Pierre looked good. Struggling in the grappling a little bit, seen some holes there, but we kind of knew that. But it was a fun fight, and they were all underdogs, so can't be too mad at that one. Anyway, this weekend, we're in London. It's a huge fight. The main event, Alexander Drago Volkov taking on Tom Aspinall. And a huge spot for Aspinall. And Volkov, you know, if he gets a win, then he'll keep his relevancy in the heavyweight division and, you know, still be in the title picture. Then you got Arnold Allen, Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker dropping to 145 again. Pretty excited for that one. And Arnold Allen is a budding prospect, and whenever Dan Hooker would get him through the roof, and Dan Hooker, whenever a top 10 guy like Arnold Allen in the new weight class will put him right there in title contention, 1 or 2 fights away. So it's a big spot for each guy. And then Paddy Pimblett, just trying to get another win in the UFC against tough, hard-hitting Rodrigo Vargas. And then Gunnar Nelson's making his return. Just a great card all around. And then the prelims, you got Makayav making his anticipated UFC debut, against a tough Cody Durden. So it should be a fun card. Let's get into it. The first fight on the prelims at 125 men's flyweight, Makayav taking on Cody Durden. Makayav took on Glenn McVeigh a couple fights ago. I wasn't able to find his last fight. I tried, believe me, couldn't find it on the internet. But, you know, this is about August 2020. So he took on Glenn McVeigh. In the first round, he blitzes forward, then lands a head kick. He's able to stuff the double, and then he steps in, lands some body kicks. He lands a head kick and then sprawls, and he's able to take half guard for the remainder of the round. And then in the second round, he ducks the hook, but he gets clinched to the fence, but then he's able to get the takedown off of there. And then he's able to work to full mount. He locks his legs up like a lot of the Russian guys, Dagestani guys do. And then he's able to take the back and put in a nice rear naked choke attempt to end the second round. Then in the third round, he stands at range, and he backs out of the range of strikes of McVeigh. And then he shoots a low single from space, a little too far out, and gets stuffed. But then back on the feet, he lands a jab, presses forward, and then he feints the strike, and he's able to get the blast double. And then he goes for the top guillotine, but then he gets reversed. McVeigh comes out the back through the legs, but then he's on his butt, and he's able to cut the corner and complete another double on the ground and end the round on top and end the fight. Never really had any trouble there. And, you know, threw a lot more kicks than I was expecting. So, you know, he's working on his striking. And then Cody Durden took on Ayori Lang. Hope I'm saying that right. His last fight, in the first round, he lands a blast double in the pocket exchange, but then he's able to keep the clinch against the fence and then get some mat returns with the body lock. But then back on the feet, his shot gets stuffed, but then he's able to get the clinch, and he's able to get the single leg from there. And then the second round, you can tell he gets noticeably tired, kind of went all out in the first round, going for the takedowns, but he's still serviceable in rounds 2 and 3. He lands a lunge, straight right hand, then he lands some jabs in a pocket, but then he eats uppercut, but he returns a 1-2. He eats a right cross, but then he counters with a short hook, and he clinches to the fence, but then he slips whenever he throws his knee, but he's able to scramble out of the bottom position from Lang, and then he's able to get back on the feet and land an uppercut when they're in the pocket, but then eats a right hook in the pocket, and, you know, Lang's starting to turn it on a little bit. Lang has a little bit of power. Then in the third round, he's able to land a low single to the double off the fence, back on the feet, eat some jabs in the pocket, but then he's able to get the underhook to the fence and just kind of press him for the rest of the round. I thought he lost second one. I thought he won 1 and 3, arguable though. Tougher, but he looked really good in the first round. Cody Durden plus 290, Muhammad minus 380. This is a tough one. I hate the line, and I would do over-under, but I just don't know enough about Muhammad. Makayav, he might get finished early or go the distance. I hate the line, and I think Cody Durden's a really good fighter, and if it wasn't a Russian guy, I would probably pick Cody Durden, but I think Cody Durden's the best in the first round. I think he'll drop off after that. I don't think Makayav has any cardio issues. I think Cody Durden might get the better of him in the first round. Muhammad might take some damage, but I think rounds 2 and 3 it'll be all Muhammad. I think he'll start to get his takedowns. My pick here is Muhammad Makayav. Under the second fight of the prelims at women's strawweight 115, you got Cory Mckenna taking on Elise Reed. Cory Mckenna took on Kay Hansen in her last fight. In the first round, she lands a counter lead jab and then a hook whenever she gets pressed. And then she presses with the 1-2, and then she's able to back out. And then she's able to defend the single leg on the fence. Lands a counter combination with the left hook in a pocket exchange. And her single gets stuffed, and she eats a knee, unfortunately. But then she gets put in the front headlock position and gives up the back rear naked choke position. But second round, she does better. She eats a step-in jab, but then she gets clinched to the fence. But then she starts countering with overhands whenever Hansen comes in. And then she lands a 1-2 off of Hansen's jab. But she gets taken down and gives up her back. But then she's able to swim out and get full guard and steal the round, I think. Then in the third round, she eats a 1-2 at range, but then she lands a counter jab. She steps in and she gets doubled into half guard. She gets put in an arm triangle, but she's able to roll through and reverse the position. I think that saved her. Close fight. I thought you could have given it to Hansen, but Mckenna had her moments too. So, and then Elise Reed took on Sajara Eubanks. Now Reed is naturally a 105-pounder, and this is at 125. So give her cut her some slack, but still not a good performance. In the first round, she gets pressed with hooks and taken down with a trip. Gives up the half guard, then full mount, eats some ground and pound, just gets TKO'd from there, and that's basically it. And her record's like 4-0 or something like that, so that's really a tape to look at. Reed plus 215, Mckenna minus 265. It's lower level women's MMA, but I don't know enough about Reed. I just know she got whooped in the first round, TKO finished. And Cory Mckenna had a competitive fight against Kay Hansen, who is not really that great, but has a lot of potential. I hate the line here. It's women's MMA. I hate betting lower level women's MMA, but it is what it is. I'm going to pick Cory Mckenna, and if I lose, I lose. Whatever. All right, third fight on the prelims at 135 men's bantamweight. This should be a banger here. I'm surprised it's so low down on the card. You got two budding prospects, Jack Shore taking on Timur Valiev. Jack Shore took on Ludovic Shalini in his last fight. In the first round, he catches the kick, and he's able to get the single leg. He's in full guard, does some ground and pound, then goes to an arm triangle attempt. Really good first round, pretty dominant. And then in the second round, he lands a 1-2 in the pocket. Then he lands a steps in and lands some jabs. He's able to duck the hook and get the trip around the back while he's standing, and then he lands some jabs and circles out, starts sticking and moving. Then he stuffs the blast double, and he's able to get to the fence. Whenever he gets on the fence, he's able to stuff the double, so he gets there. That's where he's able to defend the best. And then in the third round, he lands some jabs and then a 1-2, and then he pumps some leg kicks whenever he gets pressed, and then he lands a jab, shoots a double, and then he gets clinched to the fence, but then he lands a head kick off of the clinch break, and then he lands a 1-2 in circles. Just kind of outpoints him for the end of the third round, and I thought he looked pretty good. I thought his takedown's okay. Valiev doesn't shoot that many takedowns, surprisingly, and I think he'll be able to strike with Valiev on the feet. Then Valiev took on Ronnie Barcelos his last fight. In the first round, he's at range. He works in with jab feints, but he eats a right hook and then a counter off of his jab. But then he eats an uppercut and gets clinched. But then he's able to get the high single to the fence. And then in the second round, he pumps jabs and leg kicks whenever he gets pressed. And then he shoots a high single, but he gets stuffed. But then he returns the left hook when they're in a pocket exchange. Then he eats a left hook when he's coming in with his hands down, just kind of gets caught there. But then he gets dropped with the left hook in the pocket at the end of the second round. Just kind of getting a little too wild with Ronnie Barcelos, and Barcelos hits hard. Then in the third round, he lands some 1-2s at range, and he shoots a double off of his jab, but he gets stuffed. And then he lands a spinning back fist, but then he eats a counter left hook in the pocket. And then basically the third round, he just stays busy, just peppers him because he won the first round, lost the second, just out volumes him and gets the win. Smart fighter there, but you're not really going for the finish, and Jack Shore might be able to take advantage of that. Line's pretty even here. Valiev minus 115, Jack Shore minus 105. I like Jack Shore. I think the line's kind of irrelevant. I think Valiev slows down as the fight goes on, and I think Jack Shore he'll land the cleaner strikes. I think he'll land the more significant strikes. I think he'll be able to clinch Valiev. The wrestling might cancel out. You know, I think Jack Shore has a lot of potential here. It's a close one. My pick here is Jack Shore. Okay. Under the feature fight of the prelims at 205 pounds, men's light heavyweight, you got Nikita Krylov taking on Paul Bearju Craig. Been waiting to watch this guy fight for a while. Krylov, he took on Makayav, the future champion, everybody thinks, but whatever. In the first round, he lands a right hook, and he's able to get around the back, drags him down on the mat, and then he's able to keep the clinch when they get back to the feet. And then he lands a body kick, but he eats a right cross. But then he's able to stuff the double leg of Makayav. And then in the second round, he eats a right hook as he's coming in. Then he eats a knee in the clinch, but he misses the spin kick and gets taken down. Just kind of some bad IQ there. But, you know, had a really good first round. And then in the third round, he gets rocked with a right hook as he's coming forward into Makayav. Then he gets clinched to the fence and taken down with a trip. And that's kind of it. I thought he looked really good the first round. Second two, I thought he let it slip away. So, but he looked better than I thought he would against Makayav. You know, honestly, Makayav is starting to impress me less and less every day, unfortunately. Paul Craig took on Jamal Hill, and we all know the story. Just didn't really get going on the feet, pull his guard, and breaks his arm. So, great win, aged very well, but doesn't show too much ability. So before that, he took on Mauricio Shogun Rua. In the first round, he lands a body kick at range, but his back's to the fence. He jabs and then shoots a blast double. Then he lands a knee, and he lands a knee in the front headlock position with Mauricio. But then he pulls the anaconda, but he's able to use the butterfly to keep rolling through and gets to the top position and does let Mauricio settle on top of him. And then he lands a jab and then a double, and gets a double and is able to take his back, but slides off Mauricio, getting a little too overzealous there. And then in the second round, he eats some 1-2s in the pocket, but he's able to pump jabs and teep kicks. And then he ducks the hook of Mauricio, and then he shoots a single, and he's able to take the back standing up. And then he's able to get another single and gets both another single leg takedown, gets both hooks in, gets on his back and just pounds him, gets a TKO. Technically Mauricio tapped, so pretty good strategy from him. Just kind of waited it out, and he's tricky in the scrambles. Paul Craig plus 165, Nikita Krylov minus 195. This is a tough one here. I counted Paul Craig out last time, and it cost me, but I just don't see a path to victory for him. I don't see how he's going to get Krylov on the ground. I mean, Krylov can get takedowns. I think his takedown defense will be decent. I think his striking will be better. It's a high price point. If I'm wrong, I'm going to eat this one, but my pick here is Nikita Krylov. On to the co-main event of the prelims, 265 heavyweight, Shamil Abdurakhimov taking on Sergey Pavlovich. Sergey coming off a couple-year layoff. Shamil took on Chris Daukaus his last fight. In the first round, he pumps jabs at range, lands straight to the body, able to slip the hooks, lands a lead left hook, but then he gets dropped with the leg kick from Daukaus. Daukaus hard leg kicks apparently. And then he's able to parry the jab, and he backs up, but he eats a right to the body, and then he gets dropped with the lead left hook, and then Daukaus gets on top, can't finish. And then in the second round, he lands some straight rights, but he lands a straight right, but eats a flurry. Then he lands a lead left hook, but he gets KO'd with the right cross, and that's that. Chin is suspect. He's just come off a little bit of layoff too in that fight. And then Sergey Pavlovich, he took on Maurice Green his last fight. Not the best competition, but in the first round he lands an overhand right off of his teep kick, and then he lands he lands overhand right off of Maurice Green's teep kick. Maurice Green, that's kind of all he did. And then he lands a 1-2 whenever Green presses forward with a leg kick, and then he's at range and he backs out of the teeps of Maurice. And then he lands a counter jab and then an overhand right, and then just a flurry, just lets it all out and gets the TKO. So looks pretty good. Maurice Green, not great competition, but he knocked him out in the first round. That's all you can ask. Sergey minus 310, Shamil plus 245. I mean, Sergey's young. I think he's like 29 or 30. So kind of what I've been noticing is if people take layoffs and they're younger, like under 30, then they come back better. And if it's over 30, it might be a bad thing. But I think he could possibly improve here. I just don't like what I saw out of Shamil. I don't like his chin. Sergey hits hard. My pick here is Sergey Pavlovich. All right. On to the main event of the prelims. Got a low-key banger, I would say. Mike Grundy taking on Mckenna. Mike Grundy just really trying to stay relevant in UFC. Kind of needs a win here. And then Mckenna is in the kind of the same boat. Whenever Mike Grundy would help him a little bit. Just climb the tiers, maybe get to like fringe top 20. Mike Grundy took on Lando Venata his last fight. In the first round, he lands a lunge jab and then a clinch to the fence. He eats a kick, but he's able to get the takedown with a mat return. But then, Venata did a really good job of escaping early. And then he eats a jump knee and then a hook. But then he's able to get the takedown off of Venata's kick and then keeps the clinch for the rest of the round. Then in the second round, he gets pressed with the jab, but he's able to get around the back. And then he gets a double off of Lando's front kick, but he's not able to get on top. Venata's able to pop up and escape pretty well. But then he lands a lunge straight right, but he eats a head kick in a pocket exchange. But then he lands a straight right of his own to end the round. Then in the third round, he eats a knee while he's chasing the double. But then he's able to get to the front headlock, but he gets reversed with a body lock takedown slam from Venata. And, Venata kind of was on him. Got the most ground control of the whole fight, was surprising. Mike Grundy, whenever he strike, he looked okay. But he was just chasing the takedowns too much. That's all he did, and tired himself out. And couldn't get him, and kind of bit him in the butt. Mckenna Mercani took on Lerone Murphy his last fight. In the first round, he's able to get the blast double into side control. He's able to get around the back in standing position, and then he's able to put a leg in and then get a mat return from there. And, looked pretty dominant the first round. Then in the second round, he shoots the double, but he gets knocked out of nowhere with a flying knee. So, not the best chin, and did so good the first round, gets knocked out right at the beginning of the second round. So it's hard to back, in my opinion. Mckenna Mercani plus 160, Mike Grundy minus 190. I don't like this line, but I like Mike Grundy. I think he might let his hands go a little more, not shoot constantly. But if he does decide to shoot constantly, I think he'll be able to pressure Mercani. Mercani, I don't know, he might have, I think Mercani might get the better of him in the first round, or Mike Grundy might look great in the first round. Honestly, I don't know too much about Mercani from this fight, but, he gets knocked out easily, and I don't like that. Okay. So my pick here is Mike Grundy. I don't like the line. I just like the pressure, constant pressure. I think Mike Grundy will be able to pace himself more. Venata puts on hell of a pace. I don't think Mckenna does. I think Mckenna will kind of give in after the first round. My pick here is Mike Grundy. Okay. On to the first fight of the main card at 155, men's lightweight. You got Jai Herbert taking on Ilia Topuria. Jai Herbert looking to pull a big upset, and Ilia Topuria just, looking to get back on track. Not after a loss, but after a layoff and botched weight cut. So big spot for both guys here. Jai Herbert took on Kamal Worthy his last fight, and respectfully, not too much to look at from that fight. They just get into a scrap, to a firefight. He lands a head kick, hurts him with the head kick, and then lands a flurry, and then gets the TKO. And respectfully, Kamal Worthy has chin issues and isn't in the UFC anymore. But before that, he took on Renato Moicano. In the first round, he gets clinched to the fence and then taken down with a trip right away. Then he gets mat return and gives up side control. And then full mount. Moicano is able to transition to full mount relatively easily. But then back on the feet, he lands a left hook to the body and then a body kick and then a right cross. Pretty nice combination there. But then he lands a counter left hook in the pocket. But then he gets taken down with a double at the end of the round. Then in the second round, he lands a leg kick, but he gets taken down off of that with a body lock. And then he gives up back rear naked choke position, and then he bails out and goes to full mount, but he eats some heavy ground and pound from Moicano, and then he gives his back again and gets submitted with the rear naked choke. So kind of made quick work of there. And before that, against Alex Oliver, I think he fought Trinaldo. He got knocked out pretty bad. So chin issues there as well. Ilia Topuria took on Ryan Hall's last fight. Ryan Hall's too weird of a fighter to apply that data to somebody like Jai Herbert. Ryan Hall's weird. Good fighter, but, So he took on David Jackson the fight before that. In the first round, he presses with 1-2s and jabs. He's able to slip the shot and lands a counter 1-2 he counters the 1-2 of Jackson with a body hook, and then he lands a lead left hook and a jab, but he eats a 1-2, but he's able, on the return, but he's able to counter with an uppercut whenever Damon clinches, and then he lands some hooks in the pocket, and then he lands a left hook to the body, and then a right hand over the jab of Jackson, and then just gets a TKO with that, and that's it. Hits pretty hard, is explosive, counters beautifully, picks his shots, left hook, and then a right over the jab. Now that's all it took. So Ilia Topuria minus 590. Herbert plus 425. I hate the line here. Topuria, he's up weight class, not going 45, going 155. So his weight cut should be decent. That line's pretty steep. My pick here is Topuria. It is what it is. But if you get Ilya Topuria by KO or TKO DQ plus 175, I think there's a good shot there. Herbert's chin isn't the greatest. My pick here is Ilya Topuria. On to the second fight of the main card, women's flyweight 125, Molly Meatball McCann taking on Luina Carolina. I hope I said that right. Molly McCann took on Ji-Yeon Kim her last fight, slugfest. In the first round, she bounces in and out, lands some wide hooks. She's able to avoid the jab of Kim. She lands an overhand to the clinch, but then she gets clinched to the fence off a headbutt. Unfortunate circumstance. But she presses forward in the firefight. It's about 50-50 on strikes, but then she lands a 1-2-1 combination, and then some hooks to end the first round. Goes out scrapping. Then in the second round, she eats a 1-2 in the pocket, has her hands down because she's crazy. In a good way, she lands a short right, but then she eats some leg kicks as she's coming forward. But then she eats a 1-2 at range, and then whenever she just kind of stands there for a second, gets caught there, and then she slips a jab, and then she lands a 1-2, and then some straight rights. But then she's able to get on the inside, finally lands some 1-2s, and then she's able to get a single off the cage to end the second round. Good luck to get that takedown there. Then in the third round, she lands a right cross in the pocket, and then she eats some straights coming in. But then she starts popping her jab, kind of like just peppering her. But then she presses forward, lands some hard hooks in a firefight, and puts a stamp on it. And really good performance from her. Takes too many punches for me, but that's her style, and it's going to be what's going to be there. And then Luana Carolina took on Lupita Godinez, her last fight. Lupita was up a weight class, but, you know, Luana still got it done. In the first round, she goes back and they go back and forth in the clinch. Both ladies had their moments, but then she's able to land some knees to the body, but her kick gets caught and she gets clinched to the fence and then taken out with a double. She tries the whizzer kick, but then she gets put in side control and she's able to defend the armbar late in the round. Then in the second round, she eats some kicks as she's trying to get on the inside. Her kick is caught and she gets clinched, but she eats left hooks whenever Lupita gets inside. But then her kick gets caught and she eats a straight right, but then she was able to land a knee to the head there. And then in the third round, she eats a straight right to the body and some 1-2s on the fence. She gets clinched, but she's able to reverse and then land some knees to the body. But then she eats a blitz when they break. But then she gives up her back standing. But then she's able to defend the double on the fence to end the round. And basically, Lupita was really trying to take her down, and she couldn't, and she was landing some strikes there because Lupita was too focused on the takedown, in my opinion, and Lupita was a little undersized, but still, decent performance, relatively close fight, I thought. Luana plus 120, McCann minus 140, close one here, a little bit higher level women's MMA. I don't know, man, I'm going to go with Molly McCann. It's going to be a tough one. I think it'll be a slugfest. I think McCann, I don't think Luana's, I think she'll be able to stop a takedown or two. I think she's going to pressure Luana. Luana doesn't use her range the best, in my opinion. I think she'll be able to get inside there and make it ugly, land some shots, land some big shots. Plus, it's in London, so if it's close, they might give it to her. Who knows? My pick here is Molly Meatball McCann. All right. Third fight on the main card at 170 pounds, men's welterweight. Got Gunnar Nelson making his long-awaited return, about 3 years off, I believe, taking on Takashi Sato. And Nelson took on Gilbert Burns his last fight. In the first round, he lands a leg kick at range. He stalks forward, and he's able to back out of the 1-2s from Burns. And then he pumps a jab moving forward, and then he lands a 2-3 combination. Then he gets clinched to the fence, but he's able to get the inside trip takedown in the first round, really sealed that first round for him. Then in the second round, he eats some leg kicks and some 1-2s at range, but he blitzes forward with the uppercut and then clinches to the fence, and he's able to keep the right underhook the whole time. Really being able to control Gilbert there was critical. But then he eats a right hook, but then he's able to get the clinch again. And then whenever he's in trouble, he would kind of just go to the clinch. Not a bad move. But he eats a jump knee, and his double is stuffed, and he gets put in a corner choke, but he's able to defend. Then in the third round, he's able to get this single while they're standing, and then he gets around the back. But then he breaks off, but he's able to keep that underhook clinch still. And then back on the feet, he lands a lunge, straight right hand. But he eats some leg kicks at range, but then he's able to get the clinch. And then he goes to the collar. Whenever he switches to the collar tie, he gets doubled off the fence. And that kind of sealed it for Burns, unfortunately. Just kind of left his legs open at that point. But good fight, great first round from him. And, Gilbert Burns is a monster, so I thought he looked all right. And then Takashi Sato took on Miguel Baeza his last fight. In the first round, he gets in with a straight to the body, and then he lands a double jab, but then he eats a 1-2 on the return, and then he eats a head kick at range. But then he eats a knee to the head in the clinch, and then a straight right. And then in the second round, he eats a body kick at range, and then he eats some overhand rights when he's coming forward trying to get inside. But then he ate a right hook in the pocket, but then he's able to return with a body kick at a later time. And then he gets pressed, and he eats hooks. But then he gets taken down with a single from space, and then eats some ground and pound from the back position. And then he gets put on a triangle and gets submitted there. Sato just wrestling defense didn't look great. And Nelson, pretty decent wrestler. If not, can't take him down. He's going to clinch the hell out of him, so I like that. Only my concern is the 3-year layoff, but I don't know, man. From what I've been hearing, just got some surgeries, didn't necessarily retire, been wanting to come back for a while, so I'm going to roll with it. Now, the line is crazy, so if I lose this one, I'm going to hate myself. But Takashi Sato, plus 400, Gunnar Nelson, minus 550. That's insane, but I just really don't like what I saw out of Sato, and I don't think the layoff is going to play that big of a part. I don't think Sato hits that hard, so I don't know if Sato really even has a path to victory here. But, prob line, if Gunnar Nelson by submission, minus 120, and, Sato just got submitted. Gunnar Nelson, decent at submissions. I'd go with that one, but my pick here is Gunnar Nelson. Okay. Feature fight of the main card at 155, Paddy the Baddy Pimblett taking on Rodrigo Vargas. Paddy took on Luigi Vendramini his last fight. In the first round, he landed some teeps and leg kicks and head kicks, and he's able to land a lunge straight right. He misses, though, and he eats a left hook, and then he gets rocked, and then he gets taken down with a double after he gets rocked. But then back on the feet, they both trade leg kicks. Then he eats a left hook off of his jab, and then a flurry. Then he lands a lunge straight right again, and then he's able to get the single, but he can't hold him down there. But then back on the feet, he's able to duck the hook, and then he lands a right cross. Then he lands an uppercut and then a right hook. He rocks him with that, and then he lands a right hook flurry and just gets right hook and then a flurry and just gets the knockout. Just kind of unloads on him once he had him hurt, and that's what I'm looking for. It was his UFC debut, and didn't go well for him the first half of the round, but just kind of chased him down and smelled blood and went for it, and that's what he needed to do. So, looked good besides getting rocked. Vendramini, tough guy, had some fights in the UFC before, so. And then Vargas took on Rong Zhu his last fight. In the first round, he lands some straights as Zhu's coming in, but then he lands a jab at range, and then he lands some right crosses in the pocket, and then he's able to wobble Zhu with a leg kick, and then he lands a leg kick, but then he eats a jab. Zhu starts catching on a little bit, but then he eats a body kick, but he's able to return a right cross. In the second round, his leg kick is caught and he gets taken down, but he pulls guillotine and it's really tight and it looks like he might have it, but he doesn't get it, and he's there for about a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Just killed his arms. I don't know if it's necessarily bad IQ, but I think it hurt him in the fight, definitely. But then he gives his back, but he's able to swim out and reverse for the rest of get on top for a little bit. Then in the third round, he walks into a straight right in the pocket, and then he able to rock him with the straight right. But then he circles and lands a jab, but then he kind of just stops his movement, and then he gets rocked with the counter right hook off of straight shot by Zhu. And then he lands some jabs on Zhu when he's coming in, though. But then he gets taken down with a double in the exchange. Just kind of gets caught up in the firefight, and leaves his legs open, gets taken down. Good effort by him. Looked really good in the first round. I think that guillotine hurt him. And then, in the third round, gives up that takedown. And, Zhu started finding his range a little bit and was able to land a little bit on him. So, Vargas plus 460, Paddy the Baddy minus 650. I don't think Vargas hits that hard that he will be able, that it's like such a factor to bet on him. Like, I don't think Paddy's in terrible danger. I think Paddy might be able to take him down here. I think the line is absurd, but I feel like Paddy and Sean O'Malley, they're kind of in the same category. You just kind of got to eat the chalk on them and take them if you think they got a chance of winning, because they're so hyped up. That's the price you're going to get. So it kind of is what it is. But under 1.5 is minus 125. I think that's a decent line I'm thinking about playing, so I would try that one. But my pick here is Paddy the Baddy. On to the co-main event, immense featherweight 145. You got a banger here. Arnold Allen, a budding prospect, taking on Dan the Hangman Hooker. Dan Hooker returning back down to 145 after being at 155 for a while and not having the success he wanted. Arnold Allen took on Sadiq Youssef his last fight. In the first round, he's able to get the double whenever Sadiq comes forward. Then he lands a short left hook whenever he gets pressed inside the pocket. Then he drops him with a straight left off of the fence. Back on the feet, he misses the hook, but he's able to get the double leg. And then he's able to keep the clinch, keep the seat out, keep that hand tight around the waist, up against the fence. And then in the second round, he gets pressed and he eats a head kick and hooks near the fence, but he's able to circle out, avoid any more damage, and then he presses with some straight rights, but he misses the overhand, but then he's able to rock him with a head kick at range. Sadiq takes a shot, Allen's able to stuff it, but back on the feet, he eats some leg kicks, and then he gets clinched in the round, but, he knew he had it sealed up. And then in the third round, he shoots a single to the fence, but he's not able to complete it. But then his double gets stuffed, and he gets clinched to the fence, and he eats some knees from Sadiq. Then he eats a 1-2 on the fence, and he gets clinched again. But then toward the end of the round, he's able to get the clinch of his own and kind of conceded the third round. Or, he knew he had it locked up with 2 knockdowns, rounds 1 and 2. So, but, he's got power, so it was good. And then Dan Hooker took on Nasrat Haqparast his last fight at 155. Actually, he took on Islam before that, but not much happened in that fight that I can talk about because he got taken out in Kimura. It happens. It's Islam. But against Haqparast, in the first round, he pressures to the fence, lands some teeps, then he eats a right hook off of his jab, and he eats a 1-2 as he's coming forward. But then he gets a single on the fence, but then he transitions to a body lock and lands the knee to the head with that plum tie. Really good at that, bringing knees up the middle, kind of out of nowhere. And then in the second round, he lands a head kick as he's pressing forward. Then he lands a front knee, and then he shoots the single on the fence, and then he's able to get the plum tie and then a knee to the head into the body. Really nice, really quick with it. And then he lands a right hook to the body and then a jab, and he's able to duck Nasrat's hook and get the body lock slam into side control for about a minute and a half, and he looked really good there. And then in the third round, he eats some hooks in the pocket, but then he backs up and he pumps leg kicks, and he's able to get the double after he ducks the hook of Nasrat. Then he's in side control, goes around the back, lands some ground and pound. Nasrat stands up, then just right away, again on the money, he's able to duck the hook and get the double, windshield wipers the feet, really good technique, and then rides out the rest of the fight. The wrestling is a really great addition to his game, and I was impressed. And Nasrat, not a highly ranked guy, but a tough guy. You can't overlook. So I thought he looked good. Dan Hooker minus 105, Arnold Allen minus 115. This is a close one here. Since it's so close, dropping weight class, I don't like that. I never like that. I just don't think it could work out for him. I just don't see how it's good. I'm sorry. Arnold Allen hits hard. Dan Hooker's chin isn't going to be glass, but I think it might be depleted. Then Arnold Allen's pretty good, really good at wrestling. I don't think Hooker's going to be able to get him down. I think Allen's going to be able to clinch him up a lot, possibly even get him down. And then Allen hits pretty hard here. My pick here is Arnold Allen. But we'll see, man. It should be a good one. On to the main event, 265, men's heavyweight. You got Alexander Drago Volkov taking on Tom Aspinall. Huge spot for either guy. Tom Aspinall, if he beats Alexander's like number 5, so he'll be right there for in the title picture, possibly a title shot after one more fight. Then Volkov, if he wants to stay relevant, he needs to beat budding contender like Aspinall, hold him off, and show why he's one of the elites of the division. So Volkov took on Marcin Tybura his last fight. In the first round, he presses, but eats left hook in the pocket. But then he lands some jabs and then a straight right, and he's able to stuff the double, uses both underhooks, and then he lunges, lands a 1-2. But then he's able to pancake Tybura, takes a sloppy shot, and he's able to get on top of him into half guard in the first round. Really nice round for Volkov. Then in the second round, he's able to stuff the double, land a knee, but he eats some short hooks, but then he lands a knee to the body, and then he's able to clinch, and then lands another knee to the body, and then a straight right on the break. And then in the third round, he lands some 1-2s whenever he gets pressed from Tybura, but then he gets clinched to the fence, but then he lands a left uppercut and a right hook in the pocket, and then he's able to frame off of the clinch, and then he's able to land a 1-2 in the pocket. But then he eats a back fist and overhand right from Tybura, and Volkov might have fell off in the third round a little bit, but able to defend the takedowns, which is really impressive. And Aspinall, that's an aspect to his game. But one thing, Volkov didn't use his jab, so he's not really using his length, in my opinion. And last fight, Tom Aspinall took on Sergey Pavlovich. None of Tom Aspinall's fights are long, but in the first round, he lands a jab to the body, presses forward. Then he lands a step-in 1-2 combination, and then he lands an overhook to a knee, and then overhook with a knee to the body. Then he's able to drop him with the elbow and gets the TKO, and that's that, dude. They're in a clinch position. Aspinall keeps that overhook and lands a knee. Keeps Sergey's arm wrapped up, and that was really nice. And he tried to get everything he could out of that position, and I really like that. And got a quick finish. Aspinall -125, Alexander +105. This is a close one, and everybody's saying, "Oh, Tom, we never seen Tom Aspinall go 5 rounds." Well, yeah, but it's not because he's gassing and getting finished before the 5th round. It's because he is able to finish the fight early, and I don't think he should be punished for that. And, Alex just dragged fights out. But I think Tom Aspinall's cardio will hold up. Obviously, you might not want it to go to the 5th round, but, who's to say he can make it 5 rounds? But Tom Aspinall is a finisher, so he's probably, he's not really even thinking about the 5th round, in my opinion. But I think Aspinall will be able to get inside of Volkov. Volkov's takedown defense has gotten better. I think Aspinall can get it if he has to. I think Aspinall will be able to clinch him up. And like I said, Volkov doesn't really use his range, doesn't use his length as much as I like him to, doesn't really establish a jab. My pick here is Tom Aspinall. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a great fight, and I'm excited for it. All right, everybody, thank you for watching me, riding with me. I'm doing well the past couple weeks. Honestly, this card, a little tricky, but I think I'm going to do well. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat in the description. It'll all be there. Leave a comment, argue with me, agree with me, ask me advice. Maybe you can show me some things. Maybe you have a good parlay that I don't know about. I'll give you a shout out. Anyway, guys, I appreciate it. Really looking forward to this. I'm glad UFC is back in London. Next weekend, they're in Columbus, and I'm going to that one, and I can't wait. It's a good time to be an MMA fan, great time to be a UFC fan. I'm excited to see some prospects get some spotlight, and I'm excited to make some money. See you guys.